Hello, is this bitch recording? Okay, welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is your boy Jamar84 once again. Okay, so this should be uploaded on Thursday. I recorded both of these videos on Monday. Yes, Monday night. So, these are going to be this week's videos. If y'all did not see the last one with the killer clowns, girl, and then that ending of the last, listen, that last one was some good shit. So make sure y'all go check that out. So again, we're trying to keep this schedule going of having these come up every Tuesday and Thursday. I will try to keep myself to it. We can do it. So uh make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we're gonna go ahead and get in. Now, this is supposed to be 3 airplane horror stories. Now, they remember there was an airplane one like maybe a video or two ago, but none of y'all should really get scared by this because none of y'all should be flying anyway. Because we in a full fledged pandemic. So we're gonna see how we gonna live ourselves, live our lives to these people that can fly right now. But let's see. Ooh, child, I'm just scared. Whenever I think of something like a horror story with an airplane, I instantly think of the Twilight Zone, and then somebody's out there fucking with the goddamn airplane engine or the wings and shit. But let's see what the tea is.
Is a major part of my job. Each week for the past 20 years, I've traveled from city to city on various business meetings. During that time, I've flown enough to join the Million Mile Club. I love it, but there are aspects of flying even I can't handle. Crying babies, limited leg space, people listening to music too loud, the list goes on. Luckily, I've developed the perfect system throughout the years. It includes a neck pillow, a sleeping pill, closed shades, and earbuds. Unfortunately, during my last
Baby, you would never lie. Nothing. I've never really tried to do like the pill pop and go to sleep thing because usually I can't. Every time I try to sleep on a plane like that, for real, I always get neck cramps. It's never really that comfortable. I sleep for like maybe 30 minutes or so max. So usually what I do is I download me a whole bunch of episodes of an anime that I'm watching or any TV show and just give myself a phone charger, just watch all my shows. That's the best way. I can't sleep on a plane too long, especially if it's gonna be long.
flight, the survival kit had gone missing during check-in. Without it, I was doomed to suffer through a long, sleepless flight. Of course, I was also seated behind someone who wouldn't stop crying. It wasn't even an infant as I had expected, but a grown woman. She sat with her face pointed towards the window and sobbed loudly.
What the
At
fuck?
first, I assumed she was afraid of flying, but if that were the case, she surely wouldn't be too transfixed with the outside world. The thought of her being sad crossed my mind as well, but it didn't sound like it. She just seemed broken. Before long, her whining had garnered the attention of the staff. A stewardess walked over with a concerned look on her face and gently tried to start a conversation with her. "Ma'am, are you all right?" she asked. The woman didn't respond. She just kept staring outside, crying non-stop.
Bitch, what the fuck wrong with you?
The stewardess gently shook her, yet she didn't seem to react. By then, people were getting worried. Whispers filled the cabin, people asking if she was on drugs or if she'd suffered a mental breakdown. I wasn't as much annoyed as I was worried, but something about the situation seemed oddly eerie. I considered opening my own blinds to see what she was staring at outside. Before I got the chance, I heard another person crying a few rows behind me.
What?
I turned around to see a man sobbing loudly. He too stared out the window. His eyes were unblinking and didn't seem to produce a single tear. In fact, his entire face was rid of all emotion. He just sat
What?
there, crying without moving his mouth. "Sir?" one of the neighboring passengers asked as they leaned in to help him. No sooner had he peeked outside the same window as the man before his eyes went blank and he started sobbing.
What the fuck is going on? Uh-uh. This is starting to remind me way too much of like Bird Box. They look up and they just start seeing shit. Child. But they about to do this ad. I'll be right back. Okay, we back. Yeah, this is giving me very much Bird Box tease. When they just don't see, when they see something, they don't react. They just start sobbing or doing some weird shit. So let's see.
Then a fourth joined in, and a fifth. By the time we realized what was happening, half the plane had broken into an unbreakable rhythm of crying. "It's the windows! Close the damn shades!" one of the passengers called out. In a haste, we did as instructed. First, we made sure none of the still sane people got the chance to look outside. Then we proceeded to close the blinds by the crying people, each of us careful not to look outside in the process. As soon as we'd blocked their view of the sky, they instantly fell silent. One by one, their sobs stopped, and the plane fell into uncomfortable silence.
What?
I let out a sigh of relief, but the small victory was quickly squashed by a panicked gasp. "They're not breathing," the stewardess called out. She was right. Each of the previously sobbing passengers had died in their seats. Without a view of the sky, their bodies had simply shut down. In the span of
What? What? I'm confused. This is very Bird Box. This is very Bird Box right now.
just a few minutes, half the plane had succumbed to an unknown curse. We attempted to resuscitate a few of them, to no avail. In the end, we just sat in silence, all of us in shock at what had just happened. In the meantime, the stewardesses were trying to contact the pilots.
What?
They weren't responding, and we all knew what it meant. We'd lost them. After a few agonizing minutes of doubt, the stewardesses used their emergency code to open the cockpit. On the inside, we found the pilots crying unresponsively. We brought blankets inside to quickly cover up the windows and removed the dead pilots. From there, ground control gave us instructions and aided us in landing the plane safely. It was rough, but we managed to get to the airport alive. Once there, we were met by a team in hazmat suits. Despite our explanation, they couldn't rule out a possible infection. As we expected, even after an overabundance of tests, nothing was found. To this day,
What?
I don't know what happened aboard our flight, nor do I care to find out what those poor souls saw outside the windows. What I can tell you with absolute certainty is that I'm never setting foot inside a plane again.
Well, did you quit your job? Because, I mean, your job requires you to fly on a plane. Like, did you quit? What the? That was strange. That was weird. Uh, all right. I will say I did not anticipate that ending or that little twist, but okay. We'll pause for the ad and come back with the next one. Okay, we're back for story number two, child. Let's go.
During the past few months, I've spent approximately 50 hours trying to obtain a private pilot's license. I was just about ready to take my final test, but first I wanted one final lesson with my teacher. Luckily, it was a beautiful day with close to no wind. My teacher, Lawrence, felt comfortable enough to let me do most of the work. He was a relaxed but stern man in his late 50s, and he'd been flying for the better part of his life. The airport was small and situated about an hour from the city. It only had a handful of planes and little staff to speak of. Still, it had its charm, and the surrounding nature was absolutely breathtaking. To the west stood tall mountains that looked gorgeous from the air. It was only contrasted by lush forests and vast green fields. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Nothing could beat it. I started the engines. Before long, we were flying gently through the air. I'd gotten quite good at takeoff, and though my landings tended to be a bit rough, we always got back in one piece. As we hung in the air, I glanced over at Lawrence. He looked nervous and kept staring towards the western horizon. "Something's wrong, John. Put her back down on the strip," he commanded firmly. "All right, what's going on?" He just pointed towards the mountain range. A storm was approaching out of nowhere. Thick, gray fog poured from the mountains, approaching us with impossible speed. "What the hell?" "Just turn around. That doesn't look good." I did as instructed, but even our plane couldn't outrun the oncoming storm. Before we even started our descent, the fog had taken over the landing strip. "Don't worry, I'll take over," Lawrence said. He attempted to contact the staff back on the ground. There weren't supposed to be any further flights that day, but we had to make sure we didn't collide with anything on the ground. Alas, all we got as we turned on the radio.
There is a huge fundraising deadline coming up for Senate Democrats.
Ugh, I hate when I don't catch these stupid things.
Mess of incomprehensible static. "What the hell is this going on?" he asked, more annoyed than afraid. Despite the thick clouds, there wasn't much wind to speak of. He gently put us down, careful not to let the storm shake us up. As we landed, the fog had become so thick that we couldn't see 10 feet in front of us. He parked the plane and started looking for the rest of the staff. "Where the hell is everyone?" Lawrence asked. "Maybe seeking shelter from the oncoming storm?" I suggested. We ran towards the main hangar, which also contained access to the offices. As we got close, I noticed the number on the building was missing. In its place, someone had written a strange symbol that looked like random lines mashed together. "Did someone vandalize the hangar sign, or am I having a stroke?" Lawrence joked, trying to brighten the eerie atmosphere. I didn't laugh. Something was horribly wrong. There weren't any planes inside the hangar, just scraps of rusted metal. By all means, it looked like the building had been abandoned for years. Parts of the internal structure had fallen to pieces. In addition, there were no signs of our team anywhere. We entered the offices. The power had gone out, and each and every room appeared barren. All that was left behind were a few broken chairs, some papers, and ancient posters still hanging on the wall. "This makes no sense," Lawrence said as he ripped one of the posters off the wall. The picture was faded, but it looked like a plane from the late 40s. The text was in a language we couldn't understand, just incomprehensible symbols similar to the hangar number. I picked up one of the papers. That too contained a string of weird symbols. It was clearly a different language, though it wasn't one either of us had ever seen before.
And this is slow, but I'm trying to see if I feel like they went into the past or some shit or the future. I don't know, but let's just wait it out.
It mostly resembled corrupted data printed on a piece of low-quality paper. Before we got a chance to investigate the bizarre situation, we heard a crashing sound coming from down the hall. Something had broken down the front door. We rushed over, hoping to find another person. Instead, an obsidian black creature.
What? What is that? Is that the creature from the motherfucking Black Lagoon, child? How do we get here? What is going on? What is going on?
Stumbled into the office. Its skin moved around, swirling as if it were a liquid poorly forced into a humanoid shape. It growled and started approaching us with impossibly long steps. Without hesitation, we bolted back into the hangar. A dozen more creatures had wandered onto the strip, contrasting starkly with the pale fog. "What are we gonna do?" I asked. There were too many of them at the landing strip. The only possible escape would be by getting back into the plane and flying to another airport. "Get to the plane," Lawrence yelled. We tried to swiftly move past the horrific, dark creatures. They were slightly slower than ourselves, but we'd still need time to get the plane into the air. We got the engine going and slowly started accelerating. One of the creatures had latched onto the plane on Lawrence's side. He attempted to push it off, but just a simple touch seemed to burn his skin.
Oh my.
He let out an agonized yell and resorted to throwing his bag at it. When that failed, he opened the door, which finally detached it. As he let out a sigh of relief, another of the creatures jumped in through the open door and grabbed Lawrence. His skin burned and ripped from their bones, and the creature dug deeper into him. Knowing he could do nothing to escape, he simply unbuckled his seatbelt and let the creature pull him out. I was free, but at the cost of Lawrence's life. "Get out of here," was the last thing I heard him scream. By then, I'd gathered just enough speed to take off. I had no choice but to leave him behind. With shaky hands, I ascended up through the fog, praying for a ray of sunshine to greet me. Before I knew it, the skies had cleared and the fog had simply vanished into thin air. Below me lay nothing but the beautiful landscape I knew and loved, touched by the warm sun. Back at the airport, I could see the staff going about their day as if nothing had happened.
What?
They seemed confused at my sudden appearance and came running when I finally managed to land the plane. At first, they were furious because I'd taken off without Lawrence. But when they noticed the patches of burned skin and blood he'd left behind, they got scared. The police were called, but without a body, nor any reasonable explanation to what had happened, they let me go. After a long round of questioning and a long investigation, the case died down. I've tried to come clean about what happened, but who'd believe me?
G- Fucking black swamp creatures? And ooh, Lord have mercy. So what was that airport? Was it just like was it just like a random airport overrun by the lagoon creatures? Child, that story did take a while to get to the good part because I was like, girl, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? Oh, Lord have mercy. These are very Black Mirror-esque type of shit. But let's keep watching, child.
I've always been an extremely heavy sleeper, a fact that has greatly helped me during my frequent flights. I was making my way to Sydney to visit family, a trip that would last an entire day. Despite my easy dreams, even I needed a sleeping pill for that particular journey. Medication, combined with some music to cover up the constant noise in the cabin, would allow me to spend at least half the journey over the Pacific in a peaceful slumber. Suddenly, I was jolted awake by another passenger violently shaking me. In my groggy state, it took a while before I could even comprehend the words he was yelling at me. Once my eyes finally opened, I could see that he looked absolutely horrified. They're all gone. You gotta wake up. He stuttered loudly as he continued to shake me. Even then, it took a while before the words hit me. How could people be gone? Had we landed? As I tried to compute the information, mild turbulence shook through the plane. We definitely hadn't reached our destination. Gone? I asked. What do you mean? The man was too panicked to respond. Instead, he just kept pointing around the cabin with a shaky finger. Slowly, I got to my feet and tried to shake off the hold my sleeping medication had over me.
I mean, I would kind of look around and the fact that like there's nobody else here. Okay.
The plane had been
Oh.
packed to the brim before takeoff, but now it was almost empty. There were only about 5 of us left,
What?
all equally terrified. Cabin crew, please report to the cockpit, one of the pilots said over the speakers. I looked around the cabin. The stewardesses were nowhere in sight. Apart from the few scared passengers, the plane was completely rid of any life. We made our way to the cockpit door and used the radio to respond. They're gone. What's going on? I asked. Oh God, them too? The pilot asked back, nervously. A click was heard and the door opened. Inside, we found only one pilot. You're alone? I asked. He nodded. We were taking shifts while on autopilot. I fell asleep and when I woke up, he was just gone. From the cockpit, I could get a better view of the outside world. Below us were endless, sandy hills. As far as I knew, we were supposed to be crossing the Pacific Ocean, yet all we could see was the infinite desert below. Where are we? The pilot took another look at the instruments. They were filled with numbers and blinking lights I couldn't comprehend. The coordinates were last updated an hour ago. We are supposed to be in the middle of the ocean, but it just doesn't make any sense. Have you made contact with the airport? No, nothing is working. I'm flying blind here with nowhere to land. The one thing I could recognize within the complicated cockpit was the fuel indicator.
Oh, shit.
Though it still seemed plentiful, it would eventually run out. How much fuel do we have left? I asked.
What? Okay, so he is. I mean, it must be the sleeping pills, but he's surprisingly calm in this situation.
We should have had more than enough to get to Sydney twice over, but I don't even know where the hell we are, the captain replied. The next few hours went by, and we gathered every piece of technology we had in a futile attempt at contacting the outside world. All the while, the fuel kept dripping down, a constant reminder that we were running out of time. Outside, the desert continued, only interrupted by strange rock formations. They were unnaturally spiky, extending high up from the ground like razors. All we could do was watch and hope the pilot found a safe place to put us down. After a while, the deserts and rocks gave way to a flat piece of land. The pilot looked around before finally making his decision to put the plane down. "This is the best I can do. Get ready for landing," he said. We buckled up in the back of the plane and got ready for a rough landing. It was surprisingly gentle once we first hit the dirt, and against all odds, the brake slowed us down without incident. It looked like we were in the clear, but then the ground below us finally gave out. The front of the plane fell into a sinkhole, which instantly crushed the cockpit and caused us to slam against our seats. It knocked me unconscious for just a second, but by the time I came back to it, the cabin had filled with smoke. A couple of the passengers had their necks broken from the impact, and the pilot had been killed. The few of us left alive rushed to escape the burning wreckage, but in the chaos it was difficult to find the exit. Using the escape lights, we got to an emergency exit and jumped onto the burning hot ground below. 3 of us had survived the landing, but we weren't safe yet. It wasn't until we got away from the smoke and fire before we realized the true gravity of our situation. At the horizon in front of us stood an impossibly tall mountain range, stretching endlessly up into the sky. It was little more than barren rocks and lifeless ground.
Child. Okay, hold on. We got this ad.
But the thing that truly horrified us was the sky above. There hung a massive blue sun that felt like it was scalding our skin. We'd survived the landing, but it wouldn't even matter, because wherever we were, it wasn't on Earth. Thanks for watching. You can watch a similar video here.
What the fuck? Did they get put on Mars or some shit? I just, I don't know. I don't know. But at any rate, that was the video, y'all. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Jamar84. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jamar84. JAMAR84. All the links will be in the bottom bar. Whew, child. That was a lot. That one was a little left. But be that as it may, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. See you then. Bye, guys.